You're here, which means that you've found spirit crumbs, leading you to your inner light worker. I will be sharing how these tiny little hints from the universe have led me to where I am today. I hope that by hearing my story and the stories of others, you'll pick up your own spirit crumbs along the way that will lead you to somewhere magical. Thanks for coming along for the journey. Let's see where it takes us. Welcome to another episode of Spirit Crumbs. I am your host, Andrea McCallum. I'm an intuitive oracle card reader and energy healer. And today we're already at the last episode of my chakra series, doing the crown chakra with Amber Baker. Welcome, Amber.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm always so inspired by you, and so I'm so happy to have you on to talk to my listeners a little bit about the crown chakra today.
You're so sweet. Oh my God, thank you. I'm honored to hear you say that, and I'm so happy to be here and just share everything and anything that I know.
So grateful for that. I also just wanted to mention that Amber and I are both Capricorns, and we're both artistic and doing spiritual stuff. And I just want to point that out because I feel like a lot of people think that Capricorns are just super stuffy and doing very business-like things. And I just wanted to point that out, that we're both Capricorns that are artistic and spiritual.
Yes, and I think we both, have you been studying interior design?
I started in interior design and then traded and transferred into studio art.
Okay, and so same with me. I graduated Otis, College of Fine Arts, College of Art and Design, and I started in graphic design and then ended up moving to fine arts where I graduated from. So that's also really similar. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, Amber and I have clicked since the beginning of the circle. First time we were paired. So I'm really happy for this conversation. And part of the reason I wanted to have Amber on for the crown chakra was just that I know Amber is very connected to spirit, and she does the Akashic records and channeling. And those are things that I associate with the crown chakra. And because I'm so used to seeing you just like in your element, I was wondering if there's ever been a time that you felt like you were not open in your crown or you weren't making those kinds of connections.
Okay, well, I guess for me, I think you've already heard about my near-death experience, and I know I've talked about it on other podcasts, but I have to mention it again to say that it was kind of like my whole life became different after my near-death experience, and that was really what opened up my crown chakra. So although I was very intuitive as a child and I did see spirit, and I had a lot of, actually, now that I think about it, I was having a lot of angels and different beings come to me and tell me information. It wasn't until my near-death experience that I really felt that, again, my crown chakra opened. And so since then, I haven't necessarily felt that I've had a block in my crown chakra. I did have an experience where my head was tingling for like 3 or 4 days. And it was an actual, I guess, intense opening of my crown chakra. I actually was like Googling, what are the signs of brain cancer? Like, I was like, should I go to the hospital? What is seriously what's happening? And so that was, again, like I said, just my crown chakra just kind of had a very momentous time when it just opened. And that was not right after my near-death experience. That was probably a year after, when I had become certified as a pranic energy healer. So I do believe that between the near-death experience and then working with my own energy body and learning how to be an energy healer, which again, another similarity that we have, which I think you know that I'm an energy healer too, but I don't talk about it that much. But that was the first thing that I did after my near-death experience, was become certified in energy healing. And so I think that just by working so much on my own energy body, it must have done something to open my crown chakra. So your question, I think, was if I had any blocks.
Yeah, like if there's ever a time it wasn't open. So you're saying like you kind of always had a connection, but it was just that it opened more and you were more aware of it after the near-death experience?
Yeah, and I think that also before that, I pushed away a lot of the spirit communication that was happening because I was afraid. I didn't know how to handle it. And I didn't even know, I just never allowed myself to really go forward with like really communicating with spirit. So I think I was probably the one that was blocking my crown chakra for pretty much my whole life until honestly I was 40 years old, which sound, I mean, yeah. So quite a while. It's been kind of this second chapter of my life that I've been working with spirit.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like mine is like in the process where it's like I'm not fully open. There's still a little bit of hesitation there. So I imagine that like the more obviously I work in the energy work, the more I do feel it opening. And there are days when I feel it tingling. So I can definitely relate to that sensation where it's like, okay, something's happening today. Like I can like feel it happening.
Yeah, and I remember when I first really started to work with communicating with spirit, that used to be my sign for when I felt spirit, that I would start to first feel my crown tingling. And then for some reason, just after time, that kind of just went away and it doesn't seem to happen anymore. So, but I've heard many other people say that that's what happens with them too when they start to feel spirit around.
Yeah, I feel like that resonates with kind of when it shows up more is when I've been doing more communication or like working with clients or doing the practice readings. That's usually when it starts activating again, when I'm like making the direct connection. And then I was wondering, because now it seems like it comes so naturally for you, is there like anything that you do regularly to like stay open or to like make that connection, or is it more just automatic now when you have the intention to connect?
Well, I do work a lot with my chakra system to every day clean negative energy out. I work through intention and visualization. So I clean, I ask to have my the negative energy cleaned out of my chakras. And then I did kind of develop this little thing that I do where I just go one by one from my root chakra to my crown chakra and also up into my soul star chakra, where I open and activate and align each chakra. And I think that has helped me have a clear channel and really expand my consciousness, because I do believe that our chakra system is that each chakra is actually consciousness, and that's where our consciousness is stored. So when we work with each chakra, we're helping expand our consciousness. And another thing that I do is also say out loud that I'm opening my channel, which I believe is just our life force energy that runs along our spine. I just say that I'm opening my channel and I'm ready to receive divine guidance and wisdom before each session. And because I'm working now more with doing sessions, I guess in essence, I'm working more with my chakra system and with, my channel, because I do that professionally before each session. But I don't, when I'm channeling for myself and asking for guidance, I don't necessarily say those things, but I more so tune in a different way. Like I just kind of open my energy field with intention, but more subtle, more just like, I guess after, like you said, after a while with practice, you just kind of know how to just like tune in.
That makes so much sense. It's interesting to hear your perspective of how you work that way, and like with each chakra having something with like spending time on each one as part of the process. I think that's such an important point, because like now everyone's heard all of the other chakras and different people talk about their experience, but I think that's a good point, that it's all one system and that you do need to focus on them as if they're one system for the channel.
Yeah, so another thing that I wanted to say, and this is something that I downloaded one day because I think I was focusing on, let's say, my throat chakra, I don't remember. And spirit did say, what you just said, that they are all interconnected. So when you have an imbalance or a block in one, it's going to affect all of them. And more importantly, usually there's more correlation with like one and another. For instance, when we do want to communicate with spirit and channel, the three main chakras to focus on would be the heart and the third eye and the crown. So I think that you probably have the same philosophy. It does take this open heart to start to put you in a space of faith and surrender, to get out of your mind and get out of doubt, to open your channel and really receive the messages. So they all work together.
No, that totally resonates. In my heart chakra episode, when it was just me talking, I said that I feel like my heart chakra is what's actually been blocking my crown, because I feel like for me, I have like a lot of blocks that I'm working on there. There's a lot of things that I'm working through. And then I was thinking about it when I've been doing these episodes, it's been helping me kind of think about my own chakras. And that's something that I came up with, where I just had that as a download myself one day when I was going through my chakras, and it was like, oh, wait, like this is taking a while to clear. And I keep wanting to open my crown, but it's like, I need to open the heart before I can access that.
Absolutely. It's just like it's just like consciousness itself. We're all interconnected. So of course our energy system is going to be working together and interconnected as well. So yeah.
And I was wondering too, because just speaking of channeling in general, like I can tell the difference now, like when I'm channeling information and when it's my own information. Is there any particular way that you discern between the two when you're doing like channeling work?
So I guess if I were to say what happens when I'm channeling, it's kind of like I have this spark of an energy vibration that I'm meeting, and I feel an elevated sense within my energy field. I usually sway with the energy, or I talk really fast. The words don't seem to be my own. And it's like a light trance state that I've realized I didn't really, I haven't evaluated it too much, but I guess looking, really looking at what I'm doing, that's kind of how it feels. It also, one important thing that I feel I know I'm channeling is because I let my mind just go somewhere else. If I know what the mind feels like, the mind is attached to ego, the mind is attached to judgment, right? And criticism. So it's just, I guess I know how to shift out of the mind and get into the appropriate space to channel. And that has always given me confidence. And there has been times where I kind of have my mind come back in, and then I just have to shift back into a different space so that I can really receive, wisdom and guidance from the divine realm, because I definitely don't want my mind's guidance. I know what the mind feels like, and it's not so fun and nice and,
That's such a good point. Yeah, you can definitely tell when your ego is like stepping in, because it starts having that like kind of questioning feeling to it, even if it's something coming through that you're originally trusting. And as soon as the mind comes back, you're like, why am I questioning this all of a sudden? And that kind of is what happens for me when I'm trying to do that. I know I've been working with doing more like longer meditations to try and get into so that I can discern that feeling of the mind stepping aside. Is that something that you did as a practice in order to be able to discern that?
Honestly, I don't meditate in probably like the traditional way. My meditation is probably, I guess the way I meditate is definitely disattaching from the mind. And so I feel like I meditate when I'm in nature, when I'm walking. I feel like meditation is just when I'm in the moment, and when I'm like fully consciously aware of anything, anytime I'm in the moment. And that could literally be like this morning when I went to get my coffee, the window was open and I felt the cold breeze, and I saw this rose bush that I have outside. And I felt so alive and grateful in that present moment. It was like, that's like meditation to me. And also, I think the goal of meditation is to be able to disattach from the mind. And I think that I've come to that place again. I keep saying it, but probably because of the messages from Archangel Michael during my NDE, when he came to me. And at that time, I was so in the mind. I was so allowing myself to be defined by my feelings and my thoughts and other people's feelings. And when he told me, you know, you're not your thoughts and feelings, you're the awareness behind them, you're pure consciousness, I was able to somehow really understand that what it is like to be the witness of and the observer of our thoughts, and not to say that that's not part of us and we're experiencing those thoughts as real, you know, because I'm definitely more about integrating the mind, body, and spirit, but it is an important mechanic of channeling to be able to disattach from the mind, because the mind puts you in separation. And when you're able to channel with unity and with full like merging into the higher divine realm, is when I feel like it's more seamless and you're just able to kind of like have that open the floodgates and just have all the information pour in.
That makes so much sense. I feel like I'm very similar. It's usually when I'm just not trying to meditate that I get into that state more, like being in nature. Like you said, there's a lot of days where I'll just be looking out the window and then like I don't know how much time has passed and I'm just not thinking about anything. I try more often now to balance where I am trying to do more meditation where it's like focused and then seeing the difference between the two. And I feel like it's been helping because I'm starting to actually realize when I'm in that state in both cases. And then I was wondering, because you've mentioned a couple times like about your near-death experience, and I know I've heard it, but I was wondering if you could just kind of explain like who the beings were that visited you and like how that helped you with that like crown chakra opening.
So, well, what happened with when I was having this asthma attack, and it was in the middle of the night and I couldn't breathe, and I was just praying to my grandmother. So my grandmother is in spirit, and so she did come forward in the room, and I don't know how to explain it, but it was just their presence just all of a sudden came to me, and it was a knowing, and it was more so that I didn't see them as figures. So it was Archangel Michael and Mother Mary and my grandmother, and they surrounded me on my bed and they put their hands over me and they breathed into me, and because I couldn't breathe. And so they did it, what they called a divine intervention, and they breathed into me. And while they were breathing into my body, at first I was still in my body, but then I left my body like completely, and I became one with this light, this what they told me was source consciousness. And they just were it felt like Mother Mary was holding the space in love, and it was Archangel Michael that was channeling the messages. And so in that time, it wasn't necessarily that my crown chakra just opened in that time, but when I did leave my body and become one with source, I do believe that something shifted when I came back into my physical body. I don't even quite understand or know how to explain it, but I'm just not the same person anymore. And I just have this new awareness. And one thing I wanted to explain too, and the reason why I started to think of the energy centers as holding consciousness, is because the way that they put me back in my body was through conscious awareness. And so they put my conscious awareness first into the crown and then back down into each chakras. And it was like a reassimilation of my energy, my consciousness into my body. And so that's why now I look at the chakra system differently. You know, like I told you before, I'm certified as a pranic energy healer, but they didn't really, I just didn't understand the chakra system in that way. And so I believe it strengthened my consciousness or expanded my consciousness. And it was part of what allowed me probably to activate my crown chakra, or just to be able to have a more access, a more elevated state of consciousness, you know, after that.
That's really incredible. And I feel like another thing that connects us is that I had an Akashic record read. Well, I've had a few Akashic record readings with Amber, but in one of them in particular, I had a download before it that I was very sure that like Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, that kind of concept was very close to my purpose. And I just read Mary Magdalene Revealed, and I've been doing a lot of reading around that. And I think something you just said when you were talking about how we're integrating like our body, mind, body, and spirit, that's something that's very clear in that book, how she talks about how Christ was fully human and fully divine.
Yeah.
But there's this idea of like unity consciousness where we are all connected. And I feel like that ties in a lot to like what you were saying when you were in this energy at that time, just in that state of like just knowing you were part of like source.
Well, I actually, what it felt like was my mind got bigger and my body got smaller, and I just became one with everything. So I literally became one with source. And while I was in that state was when the messages were downloaded. And so having experienced the feeling of pure bliss and euphoria when you're just one with everything is why I'm able to really understand so much now of like what it means to be divine and what it means to be interconnected and what it really means that we really are one part of a whole. We are, you know, we are an aspect of source energy. And so many times I felt so separated and isolated and different and yeah. And so after that experience, I'm just able to feel and see everything different.
I really love that. I feel like there is something about that where when I'm in nature or when you're just, you know, when you just look at a person and you just have that feeling of just like, you just have so much love for that person in that particular moment, like you're seeing them as like their highest self and like you're seeing. And I feel like the more I've been focusing on that energy, because like I said, it was something that was like downloaded to me that I'm meant to be working with that and like tuning into that energy. And I just know that when you post about it or when you put something out there about it, I feel that energy from you just because I feel like you are very connected to it because you have that connection. So I just wanted to kind of hear your perspective on that. So I appreciate that.
Amazing. Yeah. And I wanted to say that experience you have when you're looking at someone, and you're experiencing just like a love or a oneness, it's kind of like that's when you're in unity consciousness and where, you know, there's that phrase like the light in me sees the light in you. And that's the state of awareness where you understand that everyone is a reflection of an aspect of you, right? Like we're just really all one. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I like that you said it that way, that like that's when we are experiencing unity consciousness. Because that was going to be one of my questions is like, is there a way we can just tap into that energy? But I guess that would be probably the best way is like recognizing that in people that you see or practicing that.
It is experiencing unity consciousness. It's a state of being. It's when you're in that awareness, you're in that level of consciousness. And because we're multidimensional people, we're always shifting in and out of dimensions. So the fifth dimension is unity consciousness. And although we might experience times of separation where we're like thinking about, you know, something in separation and we're from our ego mind, we can also experience unity consciousness. So we have to be able to accept, you know, our human limitations while we're trying to transcend into being more open to holding the vibration of oneness and love. Because when we're fully transcended, you know, we're probably not going to be on earth. I mean, we are moving towards the 4D, 5D, and definitely Yeshua and Mary Magdalene were probably more of those enlightened beings on earth, but you know, it's okay that we experience different states of consciousness, and we are, you know, by experiencing different states of consciousness, that puts us in a different dimension. So it's like people can be operating on the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension, you know, or the third dimension, and we're still all on earth. but it's from us. I think it comes from us, how we operate.
I totally agree. That's exactly how I feel. There's days when I'm just like in a certain vibration, like if I'm in nature or something, and I'm like, I'm definitely in like having like a 4D, like 5D day, like where you just feel connected. And then there's other days where you're like, I am so 3D today. Like I am just
and you're like down with it. You're like, I want to feel these feelings, and I want to be sad, and I want to, you know, just be moody, and and I have that, absolutely, you know. I mean, of course, like we all do, and that's okay. And that's the other thing that lately I've been thinking about, is really feeling the humanness of being human and allowing ourselves to feel the pleasure of the physical touch and connection, because this is where we experience that, you know. I mean, there is something also really cool about tasting food and like touching someone and having also like individual expression, and you know, that's you know, that can be great too, I guess.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that so much, because I've been thinking about like some big challenges I've had this year, but then also like these other things, and I'm like, you can only really have, like, this is why we come to Earth, to learn. Like it's because we have these experiences. So like you were saying, like some days you have to just be in your feelings, you have to be like processing emotions, and like touching people and eating food that feels good, and like having that human side just to balance it out and to like actually experience what being human is on Earth.
Right. Like we are transcending or ascending. Like I do believe that, but I believe that, you know, like you said, it's just allowing ourselves to experience the physical realm while we're really in it. We can't, you know, fully get away from it, I don't think, right now.
Exactly. It would be really nice if we could, but in the meantime,
but it's an experience. Like it's an experience, because we might be living another reality on the 7th dimension where, you know, it's just telepathic thought, or we might, you know, leave this body and then go live on another planet, and we don't have like the physicality. So it's like we might as well enjoy it.
I totally agree 100%. And I feel like the more I've been thinking about that, the more I've had more spiritual experiences. It's almost like because I'm in that like joy and gratitude of being human, I feel like that's where that like heart chakra is starting to open up. Like that's kind of the bridge, right? Where it's like being human, but feeling the joy and the gratitude to raise the vibration, so that you're kind of in that like 4D more so than the 3D in between.
Okay, yes. When you were saying that, something just kind of downloaded. It's like the state of awareness and the approach in which we're experiencing our physical reality. I'm wondering if we are able to, that's literally what it's like to be in 4D, 5D while experiencing the physical body. So it's not that when we're fully embracing like the physicality of touch and eating and all those things, it's not that we're in the 3rd dimension. It's the awareness, the way that the state of awareness that we're actually in that higher dimension, because it's our awareness of it, but it's almost like we're viewing our bodies from this higher state of dimension. So we're still in the 4D, 5D, and we're still in the body. So that's really what the ascension process is. And in that ascension process is when you're able to disattach from the mind and the body in a healthy, balanced way, to know that you are not the body, but you know, you better honor your body. Like your body is your temple, right? But you're not defined by it or constricted by it.
I love that. I was getting like goosebumps as you were saying that. I feel like that is exactly what I haven't had the words to express it, but it's like I have those moments where I'm like very aware that I'm having a human experience, and that I'm very grateful for having that experience. And that's exactly, I think you just like hit the nail on the head. Exactly what I've been like feeling.
That was for sure Yeah, that was probably channeled because it was like this, you were talking and then it was like that's what happens when I feel like I'm channeling. It's a spark of information, like a download, right? And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know who it's coming from. I know I don't know if I have to know where it's coming from, my spirit guides or, some higher being, but for sure, I'm being guided, you're being guided, we're all being guided.
Definitely. And I think on that topic, I could talk to you for hours about this.
I know, me too.
But
My kids will be like, Mom, we're hungry. It's
yeah,
7 o'clock.
but just tying into that, I think something that helps me know that I'm being guided is when I have like synchronicities show up, and my podcast title is, I call them spirit crumbs. Do you have any examples of spirit crumbs that have showed up for you to lead you?
Okay, so I have so many. I definitely feel like I live every day asking for guidance. And I'm also very aware of allowing things to like unfold and change. So when one thing resonates and then it shifts the next day, I always like allow where I feel guided to be like move and flow, right? So, but one thing was, I guess, how we found our mentor Danielle from the Squamish medium was such a big, like impactful event for me, because so I already told you I had my NDE, I became certified as a pranic energy healer. I started accessing the Akashic records and doing readings and right away. And I had all these amazing experiences working in the Akashic records and seeing my guides and channeling, but I didn't have any mentor for spirit communication. And so I put the intention out there, and I met someone, it just did not work out. She wasn't very nice. And then I just remember being pulled to go to look at podcasts. And I was like, I don't even listen to podcasts. And so this is definitely like what you're talking about, right? Like follow the spirit crumbs. And so I think I was searching up maybe something, and yeah, I just found Danielle and I started listening to her. And I just thought, oh my God, she's so amazing. Like she's such big time, like she'll never be my mentor. And I like messaged her and she messaged me back, and I was like telling my wife, she messaged me back. Oh my gosh. And I was so excited. And then we just connected, and she definitely helped me a lot on my spiritual journey with spirit communication. And she's been really big in my life and now has become a good friend. And I guess that was just, I really needed someone in my life. And so I love that spirit kind of somehow nudged me to go to a place that I never go to, which was, a podcast. Now I listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm like taking a shower. I literally, my phone broke because I put my phone in the shower because I just couldn't stop listening to podcasts, and it fell on the shower floor and it's like still shattered. So that's how much I'm into podcasts now. It's so funny. So yeah, that's been one, thing. I'm sure there's been many other.
That's such a good example. For me, I was same thing. I think her podcast was one of the first ones that I like binged, where I listened to like, all of it. And then I was having this like awful day where I just woke up and was crying for no reason. And I was like, this is so weird. It's one of those days where I'm like, this isn't even mine. Like I wasn't upset. I was just crying. And I was like, this is so weird. And I like called into work. I was like, I'm being weird today. I can't come. And so they're like, fine.
I love that. I'm being weird today.
Yeah. I was like, I'm crying for no reason. And my boss is like into all this stuff too. She's just like, okay, it's fine. Like, don't come in. We're fine. And then I pulled up my phone after I got off the phone with her, and Danielle was live talking about the initiation circle. And I just was like, I'm going to join this. It was just this, I was like, this is what I meant to do. And then I was fine after that. It was like, bizarre.
I know. It was like, I couldn't believe that there was a community, of like-minded people, like still to this day, like I don't really have spiritual friends in my community. So that's why, like, whenever we get to talk, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I just, it's so nice to have I'm still in her community, and it's really important, I think, that we as light workers have support and have someone to talk to, because we need support too, because we support so many people, and sometimes we forget that, like, we need support, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I had the phrase come in my head yesterday. In the middle of the day, the term healers need healing came in my head. And I was like, wow, that's such a good point. Like I like, it's such an obvious thing that you would think that
I know.
for healers, people would assume, oh, they're getting healings all the time. But it's like, I don't remember the last time I like scheduled one for myself, other than like, a little bit that I do for myself on a daily basis. But like, it's such a good point.
And that's when it's your spirit guide talking, right? They just come in with these like one-liners. That happens to me all the time. And you're just like, wow, this is like literally ascended master level. And sometimes it's not, like you said, it's an obvious statement, but it's like the feeling that it comes with and the timing that it comes in, like it's because you needed to hear that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was just like, this is how it works. This is like, I wouldn't do it unless I get it from someone else.
Yeah.
I love that you also feel the same.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking too, because speaking of like reaching out for healing or for readings and whatnot, I know that your readings have been really healing for me. They've helped me through some like really tough things I was trying to move through. And I was wondering, for anybody listening who would want to maybe reach out, what the offerings are that you have right now.
Okay. So I do Akashic record readings. They're, individual readings, 1 hour long via Zoom. You can find all my offerings on my Instagram. It's at Malibu Medium. And so I have the Akashic record readings, and I also do a mentorship package of how to read the Akashic records. And that is 3 75-minute sessions with in-between Voxer support. And I really just help explain all the tools and techniques and all the principles and themes of the Akashic records, how to ask questions and how to read your own records. And then usually by the 3rd session, I have you read my records to help coach you through knowing how to read other people's. And so it gets you to a good beginning level to start reading the Akashic records. And I also have a Quantum Leap coaching package, which is also 3 sessions where it's just 3 Akashic record sessions. And I really help individualize what you want to manifest and what you want to work on. It's more of like an intensive approach to healing and transformation. And I do energy healing and I do soul readings, but I'm starting to realize that I should just call them one thing. Like my Akashic record reading is like a soul reading, right? Because I'm accessing your soul, and I'm also doing energy healing. A lot of times I start to see where blocks are in your energy field, and also really because consciousness is stored in your chakras. When you have a shift in awareness and you release a trauma, you're clearing out your chakras. So I have separated those in my offerings, but I might just kind of make one session kind of just addresses whatever it is your soul needs. So so you could, if anyone wants to book, they could just go to my link in my bio.
That is amazing. Amber is magical, so trust me, you want to check it out.
It's so sweet. Thank you, Andrea.
And thank you so much, Amber. I'm so happy we got to have this conversation. Hopefully we can have another one sometime, since there's a million topics we haven't even touched yet.
Yes, I would love to. I would love to. I always love chatting with you. And maybe one day I'll finally get around to starting my own podcast, which I have talked about for a while. So yeah. And then I'll have you on mine.
That would be awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Spirit Crumbs. You can find me on Instagram for this podcast at Spirit Crumbs, or you can also find me at Concrete and Crystals for my own spiritual offerings and more tidbits about my own journey. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.